One day I was sitting on my couch and somebody knocked on my door. It was this man. Let's call him the Pizza Man. Sprawled upon my lazy boy recliner, I beckoned, "Who is it?" as he burst into my humble domain with electric energy. He stumbled towards an empty chair, placed down his PlayStation 2, and I asked him a question I already knew the answer to. "What game are you gonna play today, Pizza Man?" He looked at me without a hint of irony or doubt and bellowed, "Steambot Chronicles. This Pizza Man. See, he watches the same TV shows, views the same movies, plays the exact same games that he's already consumed thousands of times before. His reasoning for this somewhat off-putting behavior? Nostalgia, he says. Consuming things that he has nostalgia for. Every day, every month, every year, forever. Now, is this crazy? Is this just some absurd behavior from an absurd pizza man? Just how powerful can nostalgia be? These were the questions I pondered as he entered Steambot Chronicles' acclaimed billiards minigame. Revisiting the days of our youth in the pristine comfort of rose-colored glasses stuck between the past and present, never to recapture that sense of nostalgic ecstasy. Those moments that cemented themselves into our fleshy brain cells. With its prevalence in our society, its hold on the supple masses, I cannot help but question whether nostalgia can be labeled as an inherently good or bad thing. I mean, on its face value, it's a simple concept, or at least it should be. The definition of the word, its connotation, has changed over the years. At one point, it was a severe illness for those suffering from a little homesickness. Eventually, it was associated with a melancholy remembrance of one's childhood. Nowadays, it's just a good, happy, fun throwback to a time of long ago. Now it can just be something you remember with fondness. I mean, the term is thrown around so much, it has a very vague etymology. Nostalgia memories are different for everybody. For you, maybe you're nostalgic over the smell of the Pizza Hut, or the sound of the Pizza Hut, or the pizza at the Pizza Hut. This creates a powerful emotional response, a soup, if you will, consisting of sadness, joy, and the occasional eroticism. The initial inspiration for nostalgia is preserved, distorted in the memory as time passes. Often we remember these moments as better than they really were. Sometimes the memories are just too vague to assign any real valuable insight other than, that was a good time. Say you remember this ad, this TV show, that fine bare ass. All of this creates a prominent nostalgia market. All of this sweeping generalizations, the shared nostalgia, creates a prominent nostalgia market to capture the hearts and minds of the consumer. You know, the synth waves and the such. I've done this zeitgeist bit before. The retro vibes, the jazz solo, cup, and profit. But in terms of specific objects, specific media, well, this market can produce some interesting results. See this right here? It is a Wii, the Nintendo Wii. Remember when everyone had one? Every man, woman, and dog had one of these? They launched with fervor, dropped in price, then they were given away and resold for scrap. I mean, just a few years ago, I would see these things used as doorstops at local used game stores. If you wanted to buy one, they were like $15. But now, no, they ain't so cheap. Even a shit-ass used Wii goes for this much because people are nostalgic for it. I mean, they could just buy a Wii U if they just wanted to play the games, but it's not the same feeling, and they probably don't know what a Wii U is. I've talked about the 15 to 20 year cycle so many times before, but I wanted to ask, what is the real time frame limited to? Can an adult be nostalgic for times when they were an adult, or is it just their childhood? And if so, why? What's the threshold for all this? I mean, just how long does it take before an event, a memory, can become nostalgic? Decades? Years? A few months? A couple minutes? I mean, I could reminisce all day about a Pop-Tart I ate yesterday. I can remember its silky smooth touch upon my savory glands, but I won't feel nostalgic for it. It's just too soon. I mean, I could recall every fine detail before and after the Pop-Tart goes into its ironclad coffin, the glazed crumbs spilling over my thickly grundle. And such an experience could be recaptured instantly. I could just get another Pop-Tart out, and I could put it in the toaster. For an event to be truly nostalgic, it has to be something that you cannot immediately experience again. Moving from a house, specific social events, the global catastrophe, something has to occur that you can't just eat that Pop-Tart again. Because much of nostalgia relies on this rose-colored filter. Emphasize the positive and eliminate the negative emotions associated with that memory. If you go to Cedar Point as a kid and you remember it as your fondest memory, you're probably going to forget about the trials and tribulations of waiting in line, in the traffic, in your debilitating fear of Snoopy. But most of the nostalgia people really talk about isn't these memories. It seems to be more so pop culture, media, things that can be shared across a generation, and more importantly, revisited at will. Yes, this is not how nostalgia should normally work, because the same exact experience can be replicated to a T. Remember the days of the Cars DVD menu? Right now, if you wanted to, you could just take the Cars DVD, plop it in a DVD player, and you'd get the menu again. If you liked that song when you were in high school, the local jazz stylings of Space Hog, well, you can just find a Space Hog. But see, nostalgia relies on that distortion of memories. When you can recreate the experience exactly, you're gonna fill in the gaps, the fine details, and ruin the illusion. Say you're a kid and you watch SpongeBob all day. You watch SpongeBob all the time and then you just stop. And then you come back 15 years later and you watch SpongeBob again. And you're like, wow, it's great. And I remember that and that. It's good, nostalgic fun. But then try it out the next year. And you might still enjoy it. But then try it out the next year. And instead, you're probably not going to have the same reaction. And then try it the next year, and the next year, and eventually that initial nostalgia is gone. So yeah, nostalgia can be destroyed by this overindulgence, but that's not a bad thing. While that specific memory can be depleted, you can just make new ones. If you're not the pizza man. Yes, he, him, the outlier to everything I've ever understood about nostalgia. By all means, his feeling of joy should be gone. And I'm not just talking from my own personal nostalgic experiences. I mean, this concept of overdoing nostalgia isn't anything new. The 80s themes and the pixel art, it became cliche and detrimental after those early 2010s. You look at this, they'd say, it's another retro throwback, get that out of my face. And when truly great works would break those notions, well, they didn't rely on nostalgia at all by that point. They were just their own things. Too much of a good thing is a bad thing, and too much nostalgia is a bad thing. So this man, who seemingly defies the laws of human nature, how does he do it? Able to revisit the same thing day after day without growing tired, without losing what he perceives as nostalgic value. It doesn't make sense. And after pondering this for a while, I realized the reason he does this and can do this is because it's not reliving nostalgia. It's comfort food. Not reliving the past, but maintaining a standard that you just return to. Think about it. When you don't have anything to watch, anything to play, you probably have a select library of the classics, the Skate 3s, the Kangaroo Jacks. It's commonplace for people to just revisit this choice media without that element of nostalgia ever being necessary. I mean, will you ever grow tired of your favorite food? Probably not. So, the pizza man. When you say you enjoy these things for nostalgia, I must disagree. I disagree with your brain, because what you're really doing is consuming comfort food. And as such, I made this video. Nostalgia is not familiarity. It's the opposite of familiar. I know that's contrary to what you'd expect, but let me explain. For true nostalgia to exist, it has to be rarely consumed. It has to be a vague memory. Something that when you revisit, hits you with that feeling of happy joy. Stuff like seeing Cowbob Bebop for the first time in 20 years, with your fucking floating cats in your launch, and the stench of Jack Daniels spread across the bare chest of Rip Torn. Nostalgia is a powerful beast. It's misunderstood at times and occasionally annoying, but in brief doses it can be, My message to everyone outside of the Pizza Man would be do not rely solely on nostalgia for your entertainment. This is not sustainable, because what you are trying to recapture is a feeling of joy of discovering something new, and the only way to truly recapture that is discover something new. Okay, as for you, the Pizza Man, you keep driving that truck like you pizza can.